Hi, my name's Claire and today I'm going to talk about training to run 100 miles. All my runs at the moment are early in the morning. I usually try and go about 6 o'clock, but at the moment I've been going about 7 because the schools are closed, so I don't need to get my kids down to the school on time. I like to run as early as possible, mainly because I like to see the sun come up along the beach where I usually run. It's a great start to the day. So my weekly mileage is going to increase from about June, and I'm trying to probably peak at about 60 miles a week. I base a lot of this training theory on my previous experience in running ultras. So time on legs is really important for ultra running because you need to run on tired legs, and the only way you get time on legs is by going out and running a lot on your legs. My training started back in January and I was doing 3 runs a week. This is specific to this run in August, so I run all the time anyway, but specifically for this run I started in January. So I'm looking at about 6 to 8 months training, putting in time, a lot of time a week training. So I was doing about 3 runs a week in January, so 2 short runs in the week and a longer one on the weekend. So I'm currently now up to 5 runs in the week and a long run on the weekend. So I usually try and have sort of the 4th week a lower mileage week so that I do rest, but it's not a rest as such. My only rest day is Saturday when I don't actually run, but I usually try and work it out. So my routine is 3 heavy weeks, then a week pull back, which usually means my long run on the weekend is no more than 10 miles. So I would class that as an average run for me at the moment. So how I got here into running ultras, I just love to run, so I run a lot, and it just seemed the next stage up from marathon running, to keep going really. I always used to feel tired at the end of a marathon, but I was always sort of ready to do a bit more, so you kind of weigh it up and think, wow, why not just carry on. This year I was supposed to be running Race to the Stones, Race to the Tower and Race to the King over that 6-week period in June and July, but due to the coronavirus, those races have been put off till next year, so I'm not running them. But the race I planned to do, my 100 miler, was a solo run anyway, that my husband's going to support me on his bike and in the car, so I don't really need to pull out of that one because it's not an official race. So there won't be any spectators, there won't be any crowds. Shouldn't be any handshaking or anything until the end, when hopefully there'll be a hug from my husband anyway. But other than that, there won't be a problem like that. So a brief outline on my ability to run long distance. So the first, I did a couple of shorter distance, sort of a 50k and a 42 miler, which were really good fun, totally enjoyed them. And then my first 100k, which was in 2016, I think. That was Race to the Stones. I started at about 8:30 in the morning and didn't finish till I think it was about 1 in the morning, and I was absolutely wasted, totally wasted. I at the time I didn't really know how far 100k was, but it's a long way. So I did enjoy it totally. Every fuel station, every 10k I was eating, except for the latter part of the race, which did cause me a problem in the end because I ran out of fuel. Without stopping in the later stages of the race to fuel up or fuel up properly, I think it caused me a problem where I just couldn't focus and maintain my pace because I was knackered for one anyway, but I seemed to drop motivation, and my mind just wasn't in the right place. I think that is a learning curve that most people probably go through when they run long distance, because you've got to experience it to know what it feels like when you are getting that low. When I got to the end of that race, it was crazy because it was dark. I had a head torch on, I could barely see anything. I came over the finish line, I must have looked a wreck. I was sort of sobbing my heart out. I was hobbling along. My family were there cheering me on. It was a very emotional time. So I got to the end and my husband had brought the caravan and put it in the car park, so I had somewhere to stay that night. It could have been more, maybe 50 metres away, and it was so far I just didn't know how I was going to get there. I managed to get in the caravan and my husband sort of washed me down and I got into bed. I didn't really sleep that well that night because my whole body was like twinging and tweaking, and it just felt so crazy that I just run all that way. I'd literally been running the entire day, but it was just awesome, the feeling. So I was absolutely buzzing from that experience for days afterwards. But again, typical my style, I was already thinking of the next challenge and what I was going to do next. So I booked Race to the King, which is a 52 miler. It was around my birthday, so it was my excuse to just go for a really long run on my birthday. But I had planned, it was a year later after the Race of the Stone, so I was able to plan it and think, right, I'm going to really try and see if I can do this one really well. So I spent, again, 6 months training for it. I did a couple of marathons in the build-up, I think it was about 4 marathons actually in the build-up. And I got to the start line, I was buzzing. I had my husband there, he was on his bike, he joined me the whole way. To be honest, towards the end, he was getting fed up just having his bike. He wanted to just chuck it over the fence and finish the run with me, because it was along the South Downs Way, which is really hilly, so it was a heavy old mountain bike. He didn't have so much fun as me, but so I finished the 52 miler in 12 hours 25 minutes, and my target was 12 hours, so I was really pleased with that, because if I hadn't stopped for about an hour over the day at the feed stations and had about half an hour lunch, I probably would have got under that 12 hours. But yeah, I really had worked hard for that one on the speed front, and just getting there. It was a challenge, but I was over the moon again, and it was just, right, what next? What can I do next? So the next one after that I booked was what I'd always dreamed of running anyway since I started running, and that was the Wall Run, which is 69 miles over Hadrian's Wall. My Garmin actually said 71 at the end, so I'm taking that 71 miles. I started dreaming of doing that one back in 2009, so it was a really big goal for me. So every run up to that point was a training run in order to do this 69 miles. So I always had that in the back of my head, but that's a whole nother video, that experience, because that was pretty awesome. So what I've learned from doing those previous ultras is that nutrition and hydration are really, really important. You have to keep a steady flow going in. I was eating every hour, either a banana or a Trek bar or something along those lines. I was fueling water, sipping water every mile, and energy drink also every mile, just to keep it going in. I did suffer on my Wall Run. About 60 miles, I had what I called a stomach bomb. So basically everything kind of came out a bit quick, and I had to shoot into the woods and sort myself out. But it was basically, I had filled up my water at the previous pit stop, and I had put pretty much all of my energy powder in the drink. So it was like a massive rush of sugar, and caused me to just not feel very great for a little while. But I soon got over it. I just took my jacket off, cooled myself down, and spent 5-10 minutes just, you know, getting my head back in the right place, because I still had a few more miles to run, obviously. But it was an experience, because at that point in the race, you're so close to the end, but you've come so far. And to be wrecked at that point because you've just topped up too much, it is a clear tiredness, can't get things right, and I have to think much harder about this next time I'm at the pit stop, because otherwise things are going to go badly wrong. So I've been trying to work out completion times to run this 100 miler that I've got planned. All my previous ultras all went well, and I stopped nicely at the pit stops and fueled very well, and I'm going to keep that as my focus on this one. So I'll probably stop between every 6 and 10 miles, and just take time to have my drink, to refuel, and to make sure that goes in, because that's what I know to be is really important. I reckon I'll probably do it between 24 and 30 hours. That is where I reckon I'll be. But I don't stick to times. I just give myself a rough estimate and think, well, if I get anywhere near that, I'm going to be pleased, because I don't know what it's like to run that far. You know, the furthest I've run is 71 miles, so you're asking another marathon plus a bit more on top of it. So, you know, I think it's going to be a challenge, and then that is what I want. So we shall just wait and see how long it takes. It takes how long it's going to take. Another thing I was thinking about is, I don't know if you catnap. during one of these ultras. I don't know if I would need to actually sleep for 20 minutes just to get more energy. So if anyone's got any advice on that, I'd happily listen to it and try and work it in. So any advice on the Catnap, is it required? I'm not sure. So whatever happens on race day, I would have practiced for it, and every scenario will be run through before we get there, from stomach problems to hydration to fueling to even the Catnap thing. So I'm very motivated to do this. I'm just driven by just doing it, really, setting myself a target and getting it done. I'm like that with most things. If I believe I can do it, I'm going to do it. If I don't do it this year, I'll do it next year. There's no end to this. It will be something I will do. I will run 100 miles in my lifetime. So, let's have it. I think this year is an ideal opportunity because I'm training well, I'm training hard, I'm enjoying it. I've got the support of my family. So I think I can do this. I know I can do this. It's waiting for me out there. I'm so positive I can do it. I'm going to do it. So keep watching over the next few weeks and months and see how we get on. I'm going to be posting these every Sunday, updates on my training and any little chats about running that I think are relevant or exciting, which I think is just about everything to do with running. So it'll be many topics. Yes. So in the meantime, everyone keep smiling and most importantly, keep running.